Hey, everybody. This is Chris Creamer, founder, editor, accountant, designer, everything from SportsLogos.Net, welcoming you to the first episode of, I'm not sure what it's called. We'll call it the SportsLogos.Net podcast, maybe for now.
That's brand equity right there. If we call it the
Right.
SportsLogos.Net podcast, I think we're good.
Who was that? Who's speaking right now? I don't know who that was. That helpful man, that is Paul Caputo, who is my co-host on this show. Paul, why don't you tell the people at home who you are and why you're here?
Well, hello. Welcome to our very first episode of the SportsLogos.Net podcast. I'm so excited. As you said, my name is Paul Caputo. I have been writing for SportsLogos.Net since 2014.
Oh.
And this is something I just realized. I was just on the site publishing an article this very morning at the time of this recording. I am approaching 1,000 articles on SportsLogos.Net. I'm really enjoying it and loving being part of SportsLogos.Net. And you and I thought what the world needs right now is a podcast. And so here we are.
There aren't any podcasts right now.
There are very few
This
podcasts.
is a whole new thing.
That's my understanding, yeah.
Well, this was all your idea. And honestly, when you pitched this to me, the first thing I thought was, well, this meets my requirement of only doing podcasts with people named Paul. So we're good. So this is the first time I've hosted a podcast since with Paul.
I like Paulcast.
The Paulcast? So I did Unified with Paul. That ended 5 years ago. Like a COVID interrupted Summer Olympics, I start a podcast every 5 years. I'm so happy that I'm here doing this with you, Paul, because like you said, you've been writing for the site since 2014, which is 12 years.
I've loved it. It's been so much fun.
That's perfect. Yeah. So your writing career's in the 6th grade.
That's pretty funny. I will say too, and I'm not going to just shamelessly self-promote all the time, but I also host a podcast called Baseball by Design. And that's a direct spinoff of the fact that I've been writing for SportsLogos.Net because it's all the connections that I've made with minor league baseball teams over the years. And I guess I picked that up right when you stopped doing Unified with Paul Lucas. That's been going for about 4 years. But hey, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the larger world of sports branding, which is what you have devoted your life to with the website SportsLogos.Net. Is it 30 years yet? It's almost 30 years.
It's 30 years next year.
Next year, 30 years.
Yeah, we need an anniversary patch. That's what we need.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. That's, well, you know some designers who can help with that, I expect.
A couple, one or two. Yeah. And, you got to wonder, devoted his life to logos and uniforms. Is that a mistake? I don't know. Only a deathbed realization will tell. When I'm in my 80s, reflecting on my life, did I do the right thing? But, hey, I'm having fun. I'm getting to meet a lot of good people through this. And it is still kind of cool to me that I am now good friends with some of the people who created the logos that I spent my school years doodling in my notebooks.
We will talk to some of those people over the course of this podcast. I'm super excited about that, too.
I hope so, unless they all brush us off, which they could.
My experience with designers is that they are kind people who want to talk about the work that they do. So
they're just happy that somebody's interested. I think
I think that's true. But hey, there's a lot going on right now in the world of sports and the world of design. We're getting into the baseball season. There's a lot to talk about there. A lot of stuff that you've done on the site. One of the articles, Chris, that I really delved into, and every year I always enjoy your exploration of the spring training uniforms and caps and whatnot. So spring training, part of your life? Is it a regular? I love spring training. I love getting to Arizona and to Florida when I can. Is spring training part of your life?
It was before I had children. I used to go to spring training every year. Yes. Oh, children. Oh, what are they doing to us? So at this point in my life, spring training is I'm looking forward to it on television. It gives me something to watch every single day while I'm at work in the office. I can put the TV on and there's a game on at 1:30, 4:30. And the best part about spring training is really, to me, one of the best parts about baseball is that it can be on and you don't have to pay attention to every single pitch in order to follow it.
Right.
So spring training is like that multiplied.
Yeah.
Right. You really don't have to pay attention to what's going on if you don't want to. But nothing beats going to spring training in person.
True.
Especially when you're from where I'm from and, from where you're from as well. You're in a winter climate as well. I live just outside the Toronto area up in Canada. You're in colorful Colorado. So
Fort Collins, Colorado, for now.
You're for now. Okay. There you go. There's a teaser, folks. The opportunity to escape that a wintry nonsense. And just now I was outside smacking icicles outside my office door with the only thing I had available in my office, and I thought it was pretty appropriate. I'll hold it up to the camera and I'll show you.
What are you
I'm
knocking them
using
with?
my Toronto Blue Jays commemorative 1993 World Series champions souvenir baseball bat.
There you go. It's like a
So
little miniature like Louisville Slugger bat.
that's spring training in a nutshell for me, smacking the icicles off with a baseball bat. Speaking of going to spring training in person, this was something that I had always dreamed of doing for years when I was a kid. You know, I'm a big Toronto Blue Jays fan. They've played in Dunedin since 1977. This is their 50th year in the same spring training site. And I've always wanted to go see the city, Dunedin, and all that. And when I started getting old enough, started making some money, I just got the itch. I got the urge. I had to do it. So one year, this was 2008, I said, I'm going, I don't care. I didn't book the time off work. I didn't check with anybody, but I went and I booked a flight for my father and I
Uh,
bought tickets to a bunch of Jays spring training games. The Leafs were playing the Lightning, so I got tickets to that game. And I didn't even fly to Toronto. I flew to Buffalo at 5 in the morning, which I didn't
wow.
even consider the
Which means you have to
ramifications of
leave
that.
your home at like 1 in the morning, right? Like, I mean, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
And we didn't. So, you know, we drive to Buffalo, we get there, we're late. We miss our flight.
Oh no.
They bump us to a later flight.
Okay.
We connect in Charlotte, get to Tampa, and arrive at the ballpark in Dunedin. It was Jays Tigers, and it was like the seventh inning. And as I'm walking to my seat, I see like Frank Thomas and some of the other Jays players are already walking out of the stadium. Like they're not even in the game anymore. So all that hustle and bustle just to watch a bunch of double A players play, which there's nothing wrong with that.
Right? All of them wearing uniform number like 87 as well, right?
That's
Like the
right. And those black uniforms with the silver italic numbers on the back. And we ended up going to the Lightning game later that night. It went to a
amazing.
shootout. By the time my dad and I got back to the hotel room, it was like 1 in the morning. 24 hours. We've been up traveling. My poor dad, he asked me, he's like, do you mind driving home, driving to
Yeah.
the hotel for
Yeah.
me? He didn't tell me at the time that he was suffering from some severe vertigo and he
Oh
couldn't
no.
see properly, but he didn't
No.
tell me.
Uh
So there's about 10 years later, poor dad told me, he's like, I spent the night just thrown up in the parking lot.
no.
So I'm like,
So
oh,
spring
geez,
training
if you
goes.
would have,
Oh,
that's my spring training story,
I
Paul.
have to say one of my favorite spring training stories involves my tenure as a writer for SportsLogos.Net.
Hmm.
Mostly I write about minor league baseball, but every once in a while you have hooked me up with credentials for some major league games. I've gotten to interview Paul Goldschmidt at Coors Field. That was pretty cool. But this particular instance was 2017, and the Rockies, very famously, I'm sure every sports fan remembers that a decade ago, the Rockies changed their shade of purple.
Of course.
And it was the reason for it was because their existing purple looked too blue on television, and so they wanted a more purpley purple. And so
It was
you
the
got
right decision, by the way.
it looks great, right? Like it looks
Yeah,
great. They
absolutely.
absolutely. But you had, you knew that I was going to be in Arizona. The funny part about this story is that I was in Arizona to run my first ever full marathon. I've run 4 full marathons in my lifetime. I ran my first full marathon the day before I had these press credentials to go interview Rockies players about this new shade of purple. And so you know, it's March, it's Arizona, it's beautiful, it's sunny, it's wonderful. And I'm so excited to be there. But I had to get to the ballpark plenty early the day after running my first ever full marathon. I'm going to keep saying that, by the way. I ran a full marathon. Did I tell you that, Chris? Uh, and
This is typical marathon runner behavior, by the way.
I run 4, but they were all within 2 years. And then I was just like, that's good. I never need to do that again.
Well, because you
So,
can say it for the rest of your life now,
oh,
is that you've done it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But my body is a wreck. One thing I will say about running a full marathon is it's a terrible idea. Like, don't do it. It's an awful idea. It wrecks your body. And so I get there to the gate, and the team had said like, "Hey, just give us a heads up when you're here at the gate. We'll come let you in." And so I got there, and there's like 3 other reporters, and we're hanging out. And finally,
Did you tell them you ran a marathon?
I absolutely did, yes. And then
Good,
I
good.
especially told them I ran a marathon when They get to the gate, they let us in, and the gate at Salt River Fields at Talking Stick is they let you in by home plate, and then to get to the clubhouse, you got to go all the way out past right field to like a separate building beyond the berm there that they have at all these fields. They come and they let us in, and they're like, "Hurry up, come this way, hurry up." Let me tell you, I cannot hurry. Like I am absolutely like slogging along like an old school zombie, not the new World War Z zombies, right? But like an old school, just like I could barely like walk, and they're like, "Okay, everyone, hustle up." And so I absolutely brought up the rear of like the media guy, and we finally get to the clubhouse, and all the big stars are there. This was kind of cool, right? Like, so all the big stars are there, and I got to talk to like Nolan Arenado about the new shade of purple, and I talked to like 8 different guys. Cargo, I talked with Cargo about it, and the funny thing about it was I was 100% sure that they were just going to be like, whatever, I don't care what they put on me. I just, I'm glad to be playing
Right.
Major League Baseball. Absolutely not. Nolan Arenado, I couldn't get him to stop talking. He was talking for like 10, 15 minutes, and I'm like nervous that I'm like taking up all his time. And he's sitting there and he's going on and on. He's talking about the different uniforms and the black sleeves and so anyway, long story short, that was a huge ton of fun. That was really exciting for me. And I got to do it because of SportsLogos.Net. And then I went and hung out on the berm and just took in some spring training
Amazing.
baseball. Yeah, it was incredible.
I wish every spring training experience would be like that. I'm hoping some of the other reporters were giving you a hard time. Come on, marathon runner, what's going on here?
The other
Walk from the
reporters were
field.
they I don't think I really saw them again, except for I will say the 2 people who were very kind to me were Thomas Harding, who is a Major League
Oh yeah.
Baseball reporter, reports for the Rockies. He and I have hung out several times since then, including at a Rockies game where you got me press credentials to cover their current City Connect uniforms. That was
Oh,
fun.
nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Beautiful.
Thomas and I hung out there, and then Jenny Kavnar, who is now the play-by-play person for the Sacramento, I guess, A's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she
So
was
no,
with
no,
them.
there's just the Athletics. Don't call them Sacramento.
Sorry,
Whatever
the
you do.
the Athletics. Jenny
They're going to
Kavnar.
wear a jersey that says Sacramento, but they're
Are they?
not.
Oh,
Yeah, that's new for this year. They're wearing a yellow Sacramento jersey.
speaking of new for this year, Chris, we're talking about spring training. What's going on with the spring training hats here, where it's all the teams' logos and like their spring training caps, but
Yeah.
they've added like a corsage to it, I guess. Is that what we're looking at
Well,
here?
it's
Is
prom. It's prom. It's a good
it's
time. We want to take our best to prom. Uh, well, I reached out to New Era about 2 weeks ago,
yeah.
and after about a week, and after everything had been leaked, they finally got back to me and said that, okay, this is what we're doing this year. Sent me all the batting practice and clubhouse collection caps too, but I didn't know if I was allowed to release those, so I didn't.
Okay.
So this year, yeah, the spring training caps. They went with, they're really focusing on spring training as a venue, as a destination, and that's really what spring training is, right? Like it's for the people who actually go there, and as we've just shared a couple of stories, it's a special place to go, and it really has a special feel to it. These aren't caps that I can see somebody who's never been to spring training really being interested in, someone who's living, far away from where spring training is being held. This is something I'm at spring training. I want something to remember my time here. I'm getting the Phillies cap with a grapefruit on the front. It's very grapefruit themed in Florida and cactus themed in Arizona.
Okay. So they are
So
different.
yeah, yes. So the Grapefruit League and the Cactus League teams have two different designs. In fact, every team within those leagues has a different design slightly as well. So all the Florida-based teams are wearing a grapefruit as well as like I didn't know what a grapefruit leaf or a grapefruit flower looked like. Now I
Right.
do.
Uh-huh.
They're on the front of the caps to the lower left of each team's logo. The Cactus League teams have a cactus with a cactus bloom. I knew cactuses had flowers,
Okay.
so that's good. We have
Yeah.
a Christmas cactus in our house that's lived for 20 years. I know what those flowers look like. And they all have a specific patch on the side. The Florida teams have a palm tree. The Guess what the Arizona teams have?
I gotta say, Chris, I love, love, love a saguaro cactus, right? Like, I mean, it just when I go to Arizona, and I've, being in Colorado, it's pretty easy to get to Arizona. The saguaro cactus is, I just can't stop taking pictures of them when I'm there. They're just so
They're
cool. And
Well, they look like people.
they do look like people. They absolutely look like people. So that patch is very cool. The spring training patch with the cactus is very cool.
So they also did like an interesting thing on the inside of the caps where they did this vintage looking traditional art design. You know, the Florida teams have like this traditional Florida landscape that looks like it was created back in like the late 19th century. Two colors, sepia and white. Arizona again, they went with like a southwestern theme, and they're also stitching each team's actual spring training site on the underside of the visor. So again, this is all about spring training's destination. This is something that you go to. This is something you enjoy as a fan of the team. Really, it's a rite of passage for hardcore fans of a particular team or just baseball in general.
So if your Toronto Blue Jays are losing in
Mm.
Dunedin in the eighth inning, and all the AA players wearing number 83 are out there playing, and the fans on the berm want to turn their hat inside out, rally cap style, you're going to see these amazing old school sepia tone illustrations and the name
Yeah, it
of the
looks like the
town.
Florida Everglades. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's
very
like a
cool.
Florida Everglades, and it would say Dunedin stitched on there. It's pretty cool. It's nice, and it shows that New Era is now trying to really incorporate that as part of the design.
Yeah.
And you bring up a good point with rally caps and such. I could really see that as something they're going to push for some future design, probably City Connect, where they say, "Hey, and for well, they don't want to admit that their team ever needs to rally, but if you do need to rally, you got a cool team-specific design on the inside."
There is actually a minor league team, and Chris, I'm going to do everything in my power to keep us from getting too heavy into minor league baseball on this because I know that that's my area of
Good luck. We can
interest.
edit everything you say out, Paul, can be edited
It's
out. So
true.
you
It's
just,
true. We'll get our producer on that. Make sure this all gets cut.
I think our
Um,
producer's name is Paul Caputo. So
oh,
this is going to
whoops.
be, yeah.
But the Altoona Curve had a cap that was specifically designed to be a rally cap, where if you turned it inside out, it had their Al Tuna, their mascot Al Tuna.
Yeah.
Minor league baseball, you gotta love it. Hey, before we move on from Major League Baseball, though, there's a couple other things. There's a few other things I wanted to touch on. First, you wrote about the Detroit Tigers have unveiled two new orange and blue uniforms for the
Hmm.
2026 season. I feel like the Tigers are really delving into the orange more than they used to. Like every time they do something new, it's a little more orange than it was.
Well, the big news about that is that the Tigers are using an alternate jersey. Like
Right.
that's the headline here. It's the first time they've had an alternate uniform, City Connect excluded, since 1995, I believe, and they only wore that for one game. So this is big for them. This is like the Yankees adding an alternate uniform.
Oh,
Now
okay.
they can add an ad patch, but they can't add an alternate uniform. The Yankees are very traditional.
Right.
So the Tigers, yeah. So they added actually two jerseys, not just the one. There's an orange jersey and then the navy blue that they're going to wear on the road. The Tigers had been dipping their toe into doing something different for years. I can remember maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we'd get reports from Tigers fans that they were sent surveys with all these different logos, asking questions about uniforms, asking questions about colors. The logo that they're wearing on the sleeve of their new orange alternate jersey was one of the logos that we saw in that survey about 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh,
So clearly, that survey led to what you're seeing from the Tigers now. At home, it's an orange jersey with sleeve striping that's very much like what they used to wear in the 80s, right? Like when they had the pullover jerseys and they had the thick stripes right on the cuff. They're saying that that's a throwback to like 1984 when they won the World Series. So it's their way of throwing back to an era of non-traditional uniforms while keeping a somewhat traditional uniform, but also wearing a bright orange alternate jersey. They're kind of having it all ways, the Tigers.
yeah. Well,
Um,
hey, good for them for doing an alternate.
yeah, I mean, this team is 125 years old.
Wow.
So, like, good for them for trying something now in 2026. They could have tried something in, like, say, 1909 or 1940, or, but no,
It's
they waited until 2026.
just getting around to it now. Speaking of 2026, 2026 is the 50th anniversary of your Toronto Blue Jays, and they've got a patch. And you
They
wrote about
do.
that patch it's funny, like the math on these, right? It's like the 50th season or the 50th anniversary. I said anniversary, but I was wrong, wasn't I? It's the 50th
You
season.
were, and I was right about to jump on you because the amount of comments that I get from people who do not understand the difference between anniversary and season is just,
Uh,
it makes
I'm
you shake your head.
I'm so glad I caught myself.
Yeah. Oh, no, thank you, because that's it. You would have been off the show.
I know it would have been done. I made it half an episode.
So the Blue Jays are celebrating their 50th season. Let's
Yeah,
be very clear.
yeah,
That's why the math, 1977, 2026. I know what you're thinking. That
50
equals
seasons.
49. That equals 40. You're right. That does equal 49. But that's only if you don't count 1977 as their first season,
Right.
which obviously it is their first season.
It was year one,
So,
not year zero.
exactly, right? So the Blue Jays did exactly what I hoped they would do with this anniversary, or sorry, look at me, anniversary
See what you
patch.
did?
50th season patch. And that was they kept it simple and they called back to what I thought was one of the best anniversary patches, season patches of all time, and that was their 10th season patch back in 1986, which they brought back in 1996 for their 20th season patch, where the design is that split style numbering, a 50 or a 10 or a 20 with the zero made up by the original Jays logo. It's so simple and it looks so good as a sleeve patch. You don't need to overcomplicate it. You don't need to add years on it, a diamond, uh, ribbons, and all this stuff. Just put 50 with a Jays logo on it. People know exactly what it means. And best of all, bringing that original Jays logo back onto the new uniforms or the current uniforms at this point, it just reminds you how good that original logo was. Even when side by side with the current, fairly similar branding, they just got to go all the way back at this point. I
Mm,
don't know.
mm.
What do you think about this as an outside observer of the Toronto Blue Jays? Does any of this mean anything to you?
I love it. And I actually didn't realize that the Blue Jays, that this was their 50th season, right? Like, so I agree with you. It's a very attractive patch. I like the Blue Jays branding very much. I have to distance myself from it emotionally because, as you and I have discussed frequently, I'm still bitter about Joe Carter in 1993 as a Phillies fan. But yeah, it's a beautiful patch. I love that typeface that the Blue Jays use with the line through it, the white type, all caps with the line through it. They put the word seasons, they put the 5 of 50 in that very Blue Jays-ish font. So for me as a non-Blue Jays fan, first of all, in general, I find that the Blue Jays are likable. And, I was rooting for them in the World Series last year and still can't believe that game 7 like that. I mean, again,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to
Yeah.
revisit that on
Don't
you there,
don't
but
don't trigger me on this one, Paul.
sorry. The patch, yeah, I think it's a really attractive patch. I like it very much. In general, I like the Blue Jays branding very much, except for that weird, like, black era that I think nobody really liked at all. And I can say this dispassionately because I have we mentioned this yet? I'm a Phillies fan. I don't love the Phillies branding, right? Like
Hmm.
I wear it because as a sports fan, I root for pajamas. But I don't, the Phillies branding to me is, there are other teams out there whose brands I would wear if I were just basing it on logos and whatnot. So yeah, the Blue Jays
That
I like.
Well, that's the curse. Well, curse is not the right word, but that's kind of what comes with cheering for a team that's been around for so long, right? The
Right.
Phillies have been around since the 19th century. You're
Yeah.
going to get a traditional brand. And I guess that's why they've now really embraced that era from the 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
It's giving people who want something that isn't quite like pinstripey and
Yeah.
made 100 years ago. Well, hey, you can wear these baby blue pajamas, as you call them, with burgundy or maroon, and be modern to your heart's content, as modern as something that was released 55 years ago can be.
Right. 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 Hey, we're talking about the Phillies. There was another article on SportsLogos.Net. And this was one that I was laughing about because I saw it linked. I saw someone link to it on Threads, I think, and they said, "Here's one for the sickos." It was like a Phillies site that I follow, and it was, "Here's one for the sickos," and it was basically just like 1% of 1% of the sports fans in the world are going to care about this, and it was a link to your article about the Phillies for 2026 bringing back chain stitching. I'm as big a Phillies fan as I know, I love logos and uniforms. What the heck are we talking about here with the Phillies bringing back chain stitching?
Well, you're not the only one who saw this one's for the sickos. People got mad at me in the comments for reporting this.
Really?
Uh, that, like, someone told me I need to get a hobby. This is my hobby.
It's your
Someone told me
livelihood.
that, wow, what a slow day. But yet, here it is. The sickos made it probably the most popular post I've posted on social media in quite some time.
Oh,
So
that's really funny.
who's the one? Who's the ones who need a hobby now?
Right, right, right.
Uh, the chain stitching, well, as somebody told me in the comments that it's not technically chain stitching, so maybe I'm not as much of an expert as this particular on
Oh
this
no.
as I
You got
think it
well
is.
actually.
But well, actually, and at
Yeah.
least he recognized the fact that he was well actualing and had fun with it. But
Okay.
so I'm just going to use the term chain stitching, whether it is or isn't.
Okay.
To me, it's the method of embroidering on a patch or a logo. In this case, the Phillies were one of two teams in Major League Baseball that had this style, the Cardinals being the other one.
Oh,
And when Nike took over everything for really reals back in 2024, and they forced everyone to get rid of all the things that made their uniforms cool and individual and unique, because they're Nike, they're a big worldwide provider of uniforms, and they can't do what the shop down the street can do. So they said, Phillies, sorry, you can't do this anymore. The Cardinals said, nuts to that, we're still doing it, and they figured out a way around it. But the Phillies lost their chain stitching, and the Blue Jays lost the way they embroidered their logo on the front of their jersey, which was like a 3D puffy version of their logo as well.
yeah.
Two things that made those teams very unique in how they wore their uniforms and presented them. Two little quirks that I love
Yeah.
about these two teams. So the Phillies lost their chain stitching, which meant they now had a flat, sort of soulless, boring word mark across the front of their jersey. The fans revolted in 24, especially when they found out those pants were kind of see-through-ish. That turned everything around. And Major League Baseball, to their credit, said, yeah, you're right. We're going to fix this. And they did. So it took a couple of years. The Phillies brought back the chain stitching. The Blue Jays brought back their puffy logo. And the Cardinals are like, what's the big deal? Everything's the same as it was before. So kudos to the Phillies, kudos to the Jays, and kudos to Major League Baseball for actually righting a wrong and listening to the fans. And I don't think that gets appreciated enough, right? Because they could have just said, nah, this is fine. You'll get used to it,
Right.
like they did with ad patches. But this time they listened and they said, yeah, you're right. Okay, we screwed up.
I just love that I get to have a conversation with you, the world's foremost expert on this sort of thing, and actually get that explanation straight from you. So I appreciate that, Chris.
Oh, that's right. Well, now that's not, you called me that. I don't call myself that. Let's be
I,
clear.
I'll be, and
If
I will
the
continue to
world's
call you that.
foremost the world's foremost expert should know what chain stitching is.
Hey, a couple more baseball things. These were not on the site or on your social media here, but obviously, we've had a couple losses in the world of Major
Hmm.
League Baseball. I was going to say since the last time we recorded, but this is our first episode. Bill Mazeroski, of course,
Yes.
and Bruce Froemming, umpire, who just passed away very recently at the time of this recording here. So
Right.
a couple of losses in
Well,
Major League Baseball.
Bill Mazeroski, of course, famous for that home run that he hit in 1960, Game 7, bottom of the ninth, which I almost saw Vladimir Guerrero do
Oh,
just 3 or 4 months ago in the bottom of the ninth of the Game 7 of the tie
yeah.
game. He hit a long fly ball. And
I
okay,
thought it
I'm
was
going
gone.
back to the
I
World
thought it
Series
was
for a
gone.
second. Sorry, Bill Mazeroski. You are an amazing person. I'm just going to take one more second here. Let's not forget Ernie Clement came up with 2 outs in the bottom of the seventh of the World Series, bases loaded, and hit a long fly ball to left field, right about where Joe Carter hit his home run. We would have had a walk-off, sorry, Paul, walk-off grand slam with 2 out in the bottom of the ninth. You wouldn't have been able to top that in baseball history. But Bill Mazeroski is a real loss for.
Chris, this podcast is going to be an emotional roller coaster. I can tell
Oh
already.
my gosh. Bill Mazeroski. So this summer I went to Pittsburgh. You and I talked before the show that you're going to go to PNC Park this summer.
First time
Lucky
ever.
you.
Yeah.
First time ever. I took my son to PNC Park in August. His first time ever going to a road baseball game.
Oh, wow.
And the Jays were in town.
Yeah.
And he got to learn all about Roberto Clemente walking across the bridge. He got to really appreciate that. And he learned who Bill Mazeroski was because Pittsburgh is amazing when it comes to honoring their baseball heroes. And we went to the Heinz History Center, which I recommend you go to when you go to Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And they had Bill Mazeroski's uniform that he wore when he hit that home run, and a big statue of him hitting the home run and everything. And it was just great to see. And I'm glad we got a chance to see those things and appreciate Bill Mazeroski as a living person on this planet before he left us. But I'm glad that he got a chance to get into the Hall of Fame before he left.
Yeah.
It was a long time coming for him because I don't think he got in for 40 years after
Oh,
he
wow.
retired.
Wow.
He was one of those Veterans Committee electees or inductees,
Yeah. Yeah.
the ones who right the wrongs.
And then Bruce
And Bruce,
Froemming.
Bruce Froemming, I actually, believe it or not, I have a Bruce Froemming story.
Let's hear it.
I might be the only one. So the 11 years ago, it was 2015, and the Milwaukee Bucks, yes, the basketball team, invited me to Milwaukee to cover their new uniforms being unveiled, their new logo and uniforms, the ones they wear now. And while I was in Milwaukee, I reached out to some of my friends at the Brewers. I said, "Hey, I've never been in an MLB press box during a game. What do you say?"
Uh,
Yeah, sure. So they hooked me up with press box credentials. I remember sitting in the Brewers dugout before the game, and Bob Uecker was just standing to my left,
wow.
which, the whole time I'm like, "Oh, what should I say to, what should I say? What should I say?" And then he's gone before you get a chance to talk to him. I got shooed off the field during batting practice because I wasn't allowed to stand with the real reporters. Things like that.
Can I need to interject.
Yeah, absolutely. Interject.
I went to the AAA All-Star game in Omaha in like 2016, home of the Storm Chasers, and I was in the press box and I was talking with Billy Ripken, and it
Hmm.
was everything I could do not to yell the very specific curse word that he had written on the end of his bat on that very famous baseball card.
I'm sure you would be the first to.
I'm sure. So anyway, so Bruce Froemming, I'm sorry to
Bruce
interrupt.
Froemming, yeah. So once I'm shooed away. I'm scared because Bob Uecker was there, and this guy's a baseball legend. I finally settle into the press box. In my experience in the Buffalo Bison's press box 2 years earlier, I
Uh-huh.
learned do not sit in the front row unless you're an
Right.
established member.
Yes.
They all had a good laugh when I did that. No, 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 you stay there, is what they said. I can't wait to see what happens when so and so shows up. Okay.
Yeah.
So I sat in the back row of the Brewers press box and I just watched the game. I had no business being there.
Yeah.
I just sat there and enjoyed a baseball game from a good vantage point. Next to me sits this, a relatively large man. Bruce Froemming was a big man. He umpired 11 no-hitters. I don't know if
Wow.
you knew that.
No, I did not.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a National League umpire for 30 something years. So I recognized him right away. I thought, oh my gosh, that's Bruce Froemming. What is
Yeah.
he doing here?
Yeah.
He sat down next to me, and Bruce Froemming immediately had a problem with his laptop.
Ah,
My other life was as like an IT guy, helping people with computer problems.
yeah.
So I saw an opportunity. Bruce Froemming needs some IT help. So he had a problem with the E key on his computer.
Oh,
The E key, he pressed it, it doesn't work. And
yeah.
he's cursing to himself quite loudly. This GDE key is doesn't work. So I'm like, okay, well, I can't fix the physical E key because I don't have a new E key here.
We've
But
done, by the way, a great job of maintaining our safe rating on Apple
oh yeah,
Podcasts right
yeah,
now
yeah.
by
I am
abbreviating curse words.
I am not a cursing fella. So I told him, I said, okay, here I'm going to select the E on your screen. I'm going to copy it, and every time you want to use the E, just press Control V.
There you go.
Right? I think that's a great solution on the fly to help this
Sure.
nice, at the time, 70 something year old
Yeah.
man who umpired probably 3,000 baseball games, 11
Wow.
no hitters, World
Yeah.
Series is galore.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, thank you, thank you. The game goes on, and I hear him cursing again. I
Oh
look
no.
over, he's on his phone, his little cell phone,
Yeah.
and he goes, this thing ain't working again. And you know what? And he looks at me and he turns away, covers his mouth, and he goes, and this Control V thing is not working. I can't do this Control V thing anymore. I don't know what this guy's talking about. I'm just trying to help you with this. So I just laugh. I know this is
Yeah.
funny. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna laugh. And I sit there watching the game, and I hear a loud bang, and I feel the floor kind of shake a
Oh
little
no.
bit. And I look over, Bruce Fleming's on the floor.
Whoa.
He is down.
Oh,
And I mean, when you see an older man on the ground, your first
sure,
thought is this man's had some sort of medical episode.
sure.
He's had, some sort of heart attack maybe. And you, oh my gosh, are you okay? Are you okay?
Yeah.
And he goes, it's that darn, I'm censoring, that darn chair again. I tell him a million times, get that chair out of here. And he's down. And I go to help him up and he's like, no, no, leave me alone, leave me alone. And then I reach down and he slaps my hand away. And I say, are you okay? Are you okay? And he looks at me really angrily and he slaps me in the stomach really
Whoa.
hard. And he goes, I'm fine.
Oh my
Like
goodness.
that generation, where it's you don't need to help me. I can do everything myself.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, you're fine. I'll leave you there. If you need help, just let me know. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Okay. He gets up and then he looks at me and he calms down. He goes, I was fine. Thank you. Like he had this. So this is the last part of my Bruce Froemming story. I go out and enjoy the complimentary press box lunch, which
Yeah.
is the best part of the press box, by the way.
Yeah.
In Milwaukee is amazing with the
Yeah.
press box food
Not
that they
every press
offer.
box does this though. This
Okay,
hit or
so
miss. Yeah.
Milwaukee is amazing. Thank you, Brewers people.
There you go.
I was filling up on some complimentary cherry cola, which at the time was not available in Canada, so I was in heaven here.
Yeah.
Filling up on complimentary cherry cola. I come out and I can hear the radio play-by-play of the game. I hear Bob Uecker is talking to Bruce Froemming. Bruce Froemming has been called in as a guest on the play-by-play. And this is all I hear. Bruce Froemming say, and you know what? It's that darn chair again. And they go, well, thanks for visiting us, Bruce. Oh my gosh, he told the story and I missed it. I have no idea what he said because you can't get a
Oh,
recording of a game like that. And RIP Bruce Froemming, thank you for that amazing initiation into Major League Baseball press boxes.
you will never know whether Bruce Froemming and Bob Uecker told a story about you.
Yeah, I'll never know.
You'll
Unless
never know.
somebody out there, look, okay, someone go out April 15th, 2015 and find the radio broadcast and we'll see what that was about.
See if that's on MLB TV.
Yeah,
Chris, we talked about how long this podcast was going to be, and we're probably a little bit over that already. But I have two more things I want to ask you about
sure, let's go.
from the site. You mentioned Roberto Clemente.
Mhm.
I'm going to be in Puerto Rico. When this drops, it'll be this week that I am going to be in Puerto Rico for the World Baseball Classic. And I'm super excited about that.
That's awesome.
One of the things I guess I'm less excited about after reading SportsLogos.Net was your assessment on the website that the World Baseball Classic uniforms this year are essentially boring. That they're what did you call it? You didn't say cut and paste, but you paint by numbers is what you said. You
Paint
said
by
they
numbers,
paint by
yes.
numbers is what you said in that article. The World Baseball Classic uniforms, one of the things we love about the World Baseball Classic is its vibrant visual presence. Not so much this year, though, huh?
Well, this is what happens when you get the same company designing every single uniform. The beautiful part, and you alluded to this, the beautiful part of an international tournament is that you get this clash of all these very bright and loud and very patriotic designs, all designed by each country's individual federation.
Yeah.
They come in with what makes their country special. And then you have, I don't know if it was Nike or Fanatics or Major League Baseball or somebody came in and designed the uniforms for the World Baseball Classic, and they used the exact same design for every single team. Why are we doing this for a tournament? And why does the World Baseball Classic exist?
Yeah.
Right? It is a chance to grow the game, make people excited about the game around the world, and then you give them cookie cutter uniforms
Yeah.
where everybody's exactly the same. Everyone's like every team has the exact same striping in the same place. Every team has the same patch in the same place. Every team has the same piping and all you do is you just, like I said, paint by number, where you color it appropriate for that team, slap the word mark across the front, and that's it. No team has fancy pinstripes. No team has fun graphics on the front. The only team that actually has something interesting is Japan, and that is because that they have their own deal with their own manufacturer to design their uniforms.
Uh-huh.
So they have a unique design that actually represents their nation and what makes them special. And if you go to the article, I had fun with this fact, and I was like, here's what Team Greenland's uniforms would look like, because we know what every single team's uniforms are gonna look like. I just put Greenland across the front, red piping, flag patch on the sleeve.
You
It's
know,
just really disappointing. Like it's not like, sorry, I'm on a bit of a
no, that's
tirade again.
that's the point of the podcast, Chris.
It's not like the World Baseball Classic snuck up on anybody. Like this is something they've been having qualifiers for
Yeah.
years. It happens every 3 years. And we're saying all this. These are an improvement over what they were in 2023.
Right.
So they're actually getting better, but still disappointing. Like if you really want to look at bad baseball uniforms, look at what they wore in the 2023 World Baseball Classic, specifically Great Britain, which might be the worst baseball uniform I've ever seen.
It was genuinely terrible, right? Like it was it was like people it was like if you printed a baseball uniform on 8.5 by 11 paper in like Helvetica, all caps, bold, centered, right? It was genuinely
Go
terrible.
even further back, Paul. Like this is like those old like what is it, like dot matrix
Right.
printers where you pull off the perforations on the side. Print me a baseball uniform in print shop or whatever.
Right,
This
right,
is
right.
yeah. So I mean, it's such a misfire, Paul. And like, what do you think about this as someone who's going to Puerto Rico,
Right.
where the World Baseball Classic is actually happening?
I'm going to see your Canadians take on the Panamanians
That's
in
it,
March
Panama.
here.
You're going down. Finally, you've been talking a big game all this time, and we're going to take you down.
Yeah, I did ask you earlier if you thought it would be cultural appropriation for me, an American, to wear an Expos cap to that game.
No, it's very appropriate,
Okay.
and I was surprised that you completely forgot that the Expos played 2 seasons at that stadium.
They
That's
did.
a former Expos ballpark.
Like they played like half seasons there, right? Like they played like
But well,
partial.
it wasn't quite a full half season, but like
Yeah, yeah.
definitely like maybe about 20 games a year. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
was it 03, 04 they did that.
Yeah.
And here's good trivia for you. The very last ever all Canadian MLB baseball game was played at that stadium.
Oh, the Expos and the Blue Jays played there, huh?
Expos Blue Jays.
All right.
Again, what a decision that was. Let's have Expos Blue
Right.
Jays play on Canada Day weekend
Oh
in
no.
Puerto Rico. Hooray! How did
Uh,
the Expos fail? I have
uh,
no idea.
I am not, by the way, dodging your question. I agree that the templating is such a shame, especially on the international stage, right? Like you can
Yeah.
see it like in minor league baseball, you've got communities where, where you can have a brand that's sort of hyper focused within a community. And if you replicate that across multiple communities, most people aren't going to notice because most minor league teams aren't marketing really, except for some exceptions, a few exceptions. They're not marketing outside their local community. But on the
Right.
international stage, to go with a template for uniforms on a future episode, Chris, we're going to need to talk about Japanese baseball. I had a trip to Japan, got to see two Hanshin Tigers games in Osaka. Incredible experience, but visually, the richness of the Japanese culture is reflected in the uniforms, right? Like it's a very cool experience. So yeah, it's a bummer for me to miss out on that as part of the World Baseball Classic experience. I'm still super excited for it. It's a bucket list item for me. I've never been to a World Baseball Classic game on any continent.
It's a lot of fun. I did the '09 World Baseball Classic when they came to Toronto,
Oh yeah.
and the U.S. team was here. I think it's the
Oh,
only time the U.S. played outside the U.S.
oh
for the World Baseball Classic.
yeah.
Grow the game. But they held their pool up here, Canada, U.S., and it was a close game late, and
Yeah.
it was a sold out stadium at the Rogers Center, 50,000 people, all Canadians going mad for this team of. It would have been the miracle on the diamond
Right.
if we would have beat the U.S. Came within one and almost did it, but that to me that was the peak of Canada baseball. It was to show that like, look, we are baseball fans in this town. We don't
Yeah.
just follow the Jays when they're winning. We also actually love baseball, and we packed that stadium for that game, and the crowd was nuts. It was even better like when I went to a Venezuela, I think it was Venezuela, US, and all the
Yeah.
Venezuelans in the crowd,
Yeah.
the passion that they have there with
Yeah.
the dancing and playing instruments and waving
Yeah.
flags, you're going to experience that big time in Puerto Rico. But in Japan, I'm sure you really gotta.
That was an incredible experience. I did also, by the way, the year I started writing for SportsLogos.Net, I did see a game in Puerto Rico at this Hiram Bithorn Stadium. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I saw a Caribbean Series game there, and
Oh,
that was
nice.
very cool. And so I experienced what you're describing there with the music and the fandom and just the pure just fun of that experience.
It really the atmosphere there really makes the game that
Yeah,
much more fun, right?
yeah,
Like, yeah.
yeah. Well, I can't wait to see that from the Canadians, all the Canadian drumming and
We
everything's
we don't drum. We're not a drumming country. We'll stand and cheer politely. The
uh
only time you'll see a Canadian get angry is if we feel we've been disrespected,
oh
and then
well.
and then we'll react.
Yeah,
But other than
exactly.
that, we'll be very polite and we'll respect the local Puerto Rican culture and we'll shake every Panamanian's hand that we find.
I love it. All right, Chris. The last story, this has been very baseball centric, of course, but there is one story that has been on the website that has been interesting to follow from Andrew Lind, who writes for SportsLogos.Net. He's been covering the Tennessee Titans. Their new logo looks like it was leaked
Hmm.
via a plush football toy, which is funny. And then he followed up on that this week with an article about the Titans' new look is coming on March 12th. I know you have to sort of walk a fine line with writing articles about leaked logos,
Hmm.
but once they're out there in the world, I would think it's fair game to cover.
Sure.
This new Titans logo, though, I think is pretty interesting for this team in Nashville coming up for the NFL season.
Well, yeah, first I want to point out that I have no information on the Titans, what their logo is going to look like next year. So this leak might be legit, it might not be legit. The fact that it appeared on a plushie on the official NFL site or the Fanatics website, I don't know exactly which one it showed up on.
Yeah.
That suggests that it's probably official, right? Like
Okay.
it's gonna, if it's on there, it's probably gonna happen, which is why we posted the story. We wait until we're pretty darn sure. We don't like to do a lot of speculation. It is a very clear throwback to the Oilers. And this is a bit of a unique situation in which this market has, and I'm not from Tennessee, and I don't speak to a lot of people from Tennessee, so I don't know if this is how they feel locally. They have really embraced the branding of another region's team,
Mm,
right? Like they
mm,
have really locked on to this Houston Oilers look.
yeah.
To be fair, they were the Tennessee Oilers for 2 seasons.
Okay. Yeah. That's right. That's right. During that transition period.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you will see the Carolina Hurricanes wearing Hartford Whalers throwback uniforms, but they aren't wearing blue and green
Right.
Carolina Hurricanes uniforms all the time,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
It's
Right.
not like they've said, "Yeah, we really like what they did in Hartford. Let's just make our whole identity about this
Yeah.
30 years after we moved."
Right. Right. Right.
So it makes me wonder, we saw a lot of legal action a couple of years ago when the Houston Cougars, the university team, they they unveiled a very Houston Oilers feeling uniform. Like it was Columbia blue with the red. It really felt like a Houston Oilers throwback uniform, and they were served with a cease and desist
Oh,
by the Tennessee Titans. So I'm wondering if this whole rebrand into a Houston Oilers themed uniform by the Nashville, Tennessee Titans is just kind of petty. Is this
oh.
something that they're doing to stick it to the people of Houston for reasons I don't understand?
I
Maybe
thought you
they
were going to
hate
say
Houston.
something so much
Go
bigger than
ahead.
that. I thought it was going to be like they're moving back to Houston or they're
Oh no.
it's just spite.
Houston has a football team, right?
Yeah,
Like, it's
right,
easy to
right.
forget that Houston has a football team.
That's true. They do, don't
Um,
they?
oh, we're gonna get flooded by Texans fans.
The-
We're gonna two or three emails coming.
there we
That
go.
no shade to the Texans fans, but it does feel a little petty. Like and a uniform logo redesign based on pettiness. This might be a new one, right? Like I don't know if I can think of another example of a team basing their logo and uniform redesign on pettiness.
It's
Can you think
just
of anything like this? And how do you feel about something like that?
I get a little touchy about like when I see the Nationals wearing Expos stuff, right? Like that it rubs me the wrong way. And I'm not an Expos fan, so it's not like, oh, cry about it, you lost your team. I just I think the branding should stay with the place. And so I get that like the Titans are trying to sort of maintain a certain amount of continuity with the franchise as it has existed over the years, but I feel like the branding belongs to the place. Like if the Phillies ever left town for whatever reason and and they became the Portland, Oregon Phillies, right? Like it would feel like such a violation of my fandom from my hometown.
Hmm.
Because I can tell you my fandom's not going to travel with the franchise, right? Like if they leave the city, they're not my team anymore. And
Right.
so when I see branding from one city reappropriated in another city, it rubs me the wrong way. So
I
I
don't know
think
if
that's
Phillies would work in Portland though. I mean, that's a very Philadelphia.
they
Maybe the
did.
Philippines.
They,
The
oh, that
Philippines
would be pretty
Phillies.
good. They
Yeah,
did
that'd
have
be
a
good.
minor league team, the Portland Rockies, there, which
Oh, geez.
made just about as much sense as the Portland Phillies.
So I'm on the fence with this because sometimes I'm like, oh no, like that must really stink to be a fan of that team and then
Yeah.
lose it and then see the new market. Like I felt
Yeah.
that way when I saw the Avalanche in the NHL wearing Quebec Nordiques uniforms against the Montreal Canadiens
Yeah.
in Denver.
Yeah. That's one I was going to bring
That
up. The
that
Nordiques.
didn't
Yeah.
and first of all, it's cool for me to see the Nordiques uniform used again.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
just like seeing it. If
Yeah.
my options are this uniform is locked in a closet, never to be seen again, or the Avalanche are going to wear it once or twice every 10 years, I'm going to pick the Avalanche wearing it once or twice every 10 years.
Yeah.
But to see the classic Battle of Quebec, which was such a big thing when I started watching hockey,
Yeah.
be reignited in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah.
It just didn't, something felt wrong about that.
Right.
And I was glad that they did do it in Montreal.
Yeah.
They wised up. They said, okay, yeah, we should probably do this in Montreal.
Yeah.
And they did. And you saw a lot of Nordiques jerseys in the crowd. You probably had a lot of Quebec fans in there. And I was an Expos fan, and I was happy when I saw the Nationals wear the Expos uniform
Okay.
because
Okay.
again, it shows that they are at least acknowledging that they did come from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And again, like my Nordiques example, if it's between seeing it on the field or never seeing it again, I would rather see it on the field
Mm.
every now and then. And that was for a special occasion too, right? It was the
Yeah.
50th anniversary of the Expos franchise. Nobody in Montreal really has a chance to celebrate that.
Yeah.
So
Was it
what I
their
what I
50th anniversary or was it their 50th season?
you know you are so close to getting kicked off this show, Paul. I
I
think
almost
that's a
made it
good
a
place
full
to
episode.
that might be a good place to wrap it up.
Chris, we obviously have so much to talk about, right? Like
We could go on.
this is going to be so much fun. I'm so excited for this. And our plan is to be back every Wednesday with an episode. We won't always be so baseball centric. I think there's just a lot going on with baseball right now, but obviously we'll just talk about what's going on in the world of sports branding. With you, Chris, the foremost expert in sports branding, and for the listener
Stop
at
that.
home, Chris is shaking his head no.
Stop that.
And I have to say, I'm proud of my own self here for keeping it relatively calm with the minor league baseball stuff. We didn't get too much into the minor league
You
baseball
didn't
stuff.
mention a single. We dedicated about an entire episode to baseball, and not once did you mention an alternate identity.
No, not even the flagship city Kitties when we were talking about the Detroit
The
Tigers.
Tigers. I could see a little bead of sweat come down
I
your
know, I
forehead.
know, I know. And there have been, by the way, I went and counted. I have written 24 articles for SportsLogos.Net this month because there have been that many unveilings in minor league baseball.
And as I'm scheduling the social media posts for these, I'm like, another
One, another one,
alternate
another, and I've got one
Oh
more
my
to write
gosh.
tomorrow.
Oh.
So, Chris, this has been fun.
Yes, sir.
I look forward to doing this every single week.
Absolutely. And I hope everyone here joins us for our antics and ridiculousness as we talk about the most serious topic there is to talk about for the sickos only. Maybe
We
can
are
call it
the sickos.
show.
All right, Chris, thank you.
Thanks, Paul.